now.
All right. September 23rd is when this is happening. We have our good friend Def Bird in the chat over here on our Patreon. And September 23rd is International Day of Sign Language. Did we know that? So today we're going to
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. We're going to talk about different forms of communication. Effective communication. Terrible communication. And how better to communicate in so many ways.
Yeah.
With your loved ones, with people online. Because I tell you what, I feel like most of y'all are doing it poorly.
Oh, yeah. It's the phone's fault.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the phone's fault.
Yeah.
By the way, also, it's National Family Day, which
also true.
I mean, I don't know about you guys.
How's your family communication?
But I know that there are some people I know within my family that need to figure out how to communicate just a tad bit better.
So today we're going to talk about all that. We're going to get Mike in trouble with his family. And let's see what happens. What's up, guys? Are you a fan of Bacon Is My Podcast? And you're like, where can I find more stuff?
Well, we got the site for you at baconismypodcast.com. That's where you can find literally everything. It's the portal to his stuff, my stuff, and our stuff, including Bacon's My Fashion.
You can find t-shirts, you can find hats, you can find all kinds of stuff to put on your body parts. You can also check out all of our awesome sponsors, get discounts. We always have the most recent and the best prices for you. And check it out also over at
patreon.com/baconismypodcast. Never changing.
Never changing. Find us at baconismypodcast.com. Thanks for checking it out, guys. And remember to ask yourselves,
what's your bacon?
World peace.
And we got a new intro.
How you like that new intro? The music sounds great.
Thank you. The visuals look great as well.
That was like a much needed remix.
Yes,
of that theme song.
I've gotten a little bit better at recording, and or no, not just recording, but mixing.
Yeah,
and it sounds way better.
It does.
It doesn't sound very muddy.
I've gotten slightly better at editing, but I still use kind of the same stuff.
Yeah, but
it was like, it was good.
But we like the giraffe. We like the dinosaurs.
Exactly. Yeah, and the explosion at the end has to be there.
Right. But we are doing our discussion and drinks episode, which means we have to get a drink going.
Yeah. So talk to me. What do we got? What is? How did we get this? Where do we get this?
Okay. So
what's happening?
So the usual liquor store up the road. Shout out to Rose Liquor Store.
We've talked about them before on the show.
Up in not a sponsor.
What town? What town is Rose in?
If you're in the area, it's considered East Meadow.
East Meadow, New York.
Yes.
All right.
Or North Belmore, but I think it's East Meadow.
One of those two.
And in the Irish whiskey section, I was looking and I saw a bottle that was not usually there, and I was like, "Sweet, I'll get it."
Was it a straggler, one lone bottle, or was there like a line of bottles?
Okay, there was a row, and I went and I put it on the thing. And I made my purchases, and I go, I haven't seen this. Is this a new Irish? And I paid already, and he was, oh no, it's not an Irish. It's a bourbon.
It's just in the Irish section.
It's a bourbon, and I was like, oh, all right.
Not only is it a bourbon, but is a Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah,
made right here.
Traveler, but I am told that this is very, very good. It's a blended whiskey. It is 90 proof.
All right.
And made in good old state of Kentucky.
May I?
Absolutely.
Let's see what's going on here. We've got good whiskey is like a good song. It requires no explanation. One taste should tell you everything you need to know. Usually does.
Yeah.
No one has to tell you how to feel about it. You simply settle in and enjoy. For this first of its kind collaboration from Buffalo Trace Distillery. Oh, Buffalo Trace. I've had that before.
Yeah.
All right. Traveler
We
brings
have
together.
bourbon cream from Buffalo
Yes,
Trace here.
that's right. Traveler brings together the collective artistry of Chris Stapleton.
Oh,
All right. And master distiller Harlan Wheatley. And I asked before, like, is that the Wheatley vodka guy? But I don't
maybe.
know. Harlan Wheatley. Blend number 40 is the carefully curated result of countless hours of testing and tasting. It's a completely unique combination of whiskeys from award-winning distilleries and exactly what you'd expect. A premium whiskey that speaks for itself. That was a lot of exposition for a whiskey that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you know.
and we got a little Harlan Wheatley distiller signature and a little Chris Stapleton, musician and co-founder of the company.
Yeah.
On the back there.
Chris
I don't know if you
Stapleton.
can see that, but
He's a country artist,
yeah.
and he's damn good.
I like the little, there's a little map on the inside you can kind of see,
Yeah.
sort of see if you're watching over here on Strangerhood TV.
So yeah, I mean, it's not our usual, but
may I open? Or
yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I don't want to, I don't want to.
Oh,
You want a cork sniff?
what is it? Smells like whiskey.
Yeah, it smells like whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm getting some sweetness though. Like, the smell of sweet
Yeah.
when you're smelling a drink, like it hits your nose and you're like, oh, sugar crystals, like that.
Yeah.
That type of
Yeah.
thing. I'm getting a little bit of that. Like, it doesn't smell. Sometimes you get a whiskey and like you go to smell it and it smells harsh, and you smell the like the burnt wood.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. This I'm not getting wood.
You're getting.
I'm
sweet.
getting sweet.
Okay.
So they didn't give any flavor notes here, so we'll have to guess, which is good because we don't have discerning palates anyway. Let's cover the ice.
Yeah. Just cover the ice.
I'm not going to cover this ice because it's on another ice, so I'm just going to match yours.
Okay.
I don't know why your ice melts more than mine.
I don't know. Maybe because I'm always very like I'm
You're
not
just radiating
like when
heat.
I say I'm hot, it's because literally my body's like a furnace.
Yes, that is true.
It's not because I'm not hot. It's because like I radiate heat.
He does radiate
Lots of
heat,
it.
and he's hot.
Oh well, thank
You're
you.
hot.
Stop.
You're a hot little number.
Okay. Smells a little like Band-Aids, but
Well, bourbon.
yeah.
Bourbon smells like Band-Aids. Oh, there's that bourbon burn. Yeah. But it's sweet. I'm getting fruitiness.
Yeah.
I'm getting like a Fruity Pebbles thing that's happening.
I don't.
Little aftertaste that's like
Okay. So when it comes to me and like Tennessee whiskey, I don't like Jack Daniels. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I want you to put this
The mash.
this up here.
Really? This?
You are a sexy beast. A sexy beast.
Sexy beast.
Is that a K or is that an X? No, that's an X. Okay.
No, that's next.
Sexy.
I don't like Jack.
Okay.
It's too sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack. Well, Jack is sweet with the burn, right? Because Jack's got a pretty harsh burn on the back end.
That too. But this,
At least my memory of Jack. I haven't drank Jack Daniels in. It used to be like I used to drink Jack Daniels pretty regularly because I thought that's what I was supposed to drink because I was in a rock band.
Rock band.
Yeah, and then I moved right on to like vodka cranberries.
Yeah,
I went completely the other way, and I was like, "This is tastier."
Yeah, this makes me enjoy drinking.
But it was like at first it was like Jack and Coke.
Yeah,
that's what it's supposed to do. That's a Lemmy. Which, if you're in LA, you can order a Lemmy, and they will give you a Jack and Coke.
Oh,
yeah,
good to know.
At the Rainbow, I don't know about other places, but at the Rainbow, I ordered a Lemmy and sat in his chair and played his video poker game.
Nice.
I had to.
Well, of course.
I had to.
Who'd win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Lemmy, obviously.
Trick question.
Yeah.
Lemmy is God. Come on.
Airheads.
Yeah.
So Jack Daniels is not a favorite, but this is good though. This is
I like
nice.
that. There's something that feels comfortable about that.
Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, he's a burly dude.
Yeah, it
He's
feels
got
like
a big old beard.
feels like a hug from Chris Stapleton.
Maybe. Oh man, could you imagine?
I imagine
if his
that's
hugs
what it
felt
would be.
like that?
I imagine that's what it would be. I would nestle in an arm.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would too.
Chris Stapleton, come on the show. Talk to us about how your hugs are.
Chris Stapleton, we're going to be in Nashville soon. That's in Tennessee. So
That is in Tennessee. Good call.
yeah. So I know you. Oh well, this is Kentucky
Ooh, it's oh yeah,
Kentucky,
that's right.
right?
It's Kentucky.
because we're talking
We're
about
talking
Jack.
about Jack.
That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. I actually now that a little bit of the ice kind of melted into it and tamed it a little bit, the right amount of water, man, the right amount of water
it goes a long way.
makes a bourbon better to me. I think.
Sure.
Some people that might be sacrilege, but I don't know. I think there's something to that. When people are like
This
3
is
drips
so-
of water. I'm like, I can see it.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if I would ever go that hardcore into it. I'd
Mhm.
probably just be like, give me an ice cube.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I like my drinks cold.
Yeah. That's.
I like my drinks like I like my men,
Right.
cold and covered in ice.
Right. Frigid.
It sounds dead. It's weird.
Doing a little possum kingdom
Yeah,
around the house lately.
That came out wrong.
And that leads us to communication.
Look at that. Wow. Yeah, like
Look
you
at
said before,
This new format. Look at this.
just running into it, man.
Wow.
It's fantastic. Today is
God
International Day of Sign Language. We are in the middle of, or the beginning of Deaf Awareness Month as well,
End of it.
or the end of it.
Yeah.
Yes, the end of
23rd
it.
would be
That's
the
right.
end of
the
the
end
month.
of the month. We are at the end of Deaf Awareness Month, and we're talking a little bit about communication today. I don't know much sign language. I know how to say pants,
Mhm.
right? I know how to say wanna F,
Okay.
right? I know how to do that.
I know cookie
Cookie, that's nice.
and I know cake.
Ooh, that's nice. I know thank you. I know you're welcome.
Yeah, I know this.
And a lot of those that I know, except for the pants, I got that one on my own.
Oh. Okay.
But the other ones I learned from our patron, Deafbird.
Oh.
She used to come into my bar, and I would serve her beverages and teach her math, and she would try and get me to remember some sign language, and I was terrible at it. I taught her better math than I learned sign language.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a long period, and we learned to communicate at a bar in a loud setting and becoming friends.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that I think people miss sometimes in communication.
I think a lot of communication is lost nowadays, and a lot of it is taken for granted. I think the phones really mess things up for us a lot. I mean, we could talk about the ways that it distracts you, and we could talk about that. But I do think that there is something lost in the tone of somebody, and what they're talking about. And I do feel like I do have text relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
but those people kind of get it. Like
Right.
you and I have more of a text-based relationship
Mhm.
than we do
Phone call.
phone call,
Yeah.
kind of thing. DJ, same thing.
I don't really call people.
I don't. Yeah. Well, I didn't call people for a long time because that was my job,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
answering phones.
Right.
So I hated the phone.
Right.
I hated talking on the phone because I'd been doing it all day. I had a phone up to my ear all day. So the last thing I wanted was, so the text was like godsend to me.
Mhm.
But now I'm just stepping away from my phone, and tonally you don't necessarily get what you normally would.
Yeah, I think as far as methods of communication, text is extremely convenient, but one of the worst.
Yes.
Because and I've said this to I've said this to a lot of people because I can often be taken out of context.
Right.
Right. Because I'm a naturally sarcastic person.
Yeah.
More so in responses than anything else. Like I don't normally just come at someone with the sarcasm. But
No, you're
as soon as somebody says something, my brain goes, "What's a funny way to respond to this?
yeah.
What's a funny way to respond to that?" And if you say something that makes no sense, like I have to point it out. I can't not. It just
Right.
it hurts my soul not to. So I'm often, texting something back, not thinking about the fact that like you're not reading a text in my mood. You're reading a text in whatever mood you're in.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
that is one thing that is I think that's caused so many problems with people, and it started fights and started arguments that didn't need to happen because people will read something and they'll read it with whatever attitude they like. You get to put it on it. You get to decide.
That's something that I didn't even consider.
Yeah.
But introspectively, do it all the time.
Right. Yeah, me too.
Like really thinking about it and just you have a like a certain narrative from certain people in your head, and you'll get a text from them. And I don't even know, like mood is for sure one thing, but I do think certain interactions with people and whatever the last interaction was, even though let's just say there was some sort of issue or something,
Sure.
still them coming back to you to talk to you, you automatically get that tone again.
Yeah.
So you automatically get annoyed with certain people texting because you're like you have that feeling still.
Right.
Whereas a phone call, probably a lot different because they may not be coming at you with the same energy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I wonder, to bring it into the sign language thing, and again, Defra pointed out what she taught me was ASL. It is International Sign Language Day, so there are, and I learned from her that like in different countries, it's not all the same sign language.
Sure,
right?
makes sense.
Which I think is interesting, and I'm sure also can be very frustrating if things are close. It probably helps, but if things are very different, it's must be like different languages completely, like, Italian and Japanese,
Sure.
But Italian and Spanish, yeah, we're good. We can kind of figure that. We can kind of work that. Portuguese and Italian, there's little things.
Right.
But like you jump across to something completely different, and it's like, oh man, I just said something so rude.
Yeah.
And did not mean to say something so rude. And I think I think in every form of communication, you probably have that. You have to have that in the back of your mind of like, how is this message going to be received? And as the receiver, you have to think about the fact of like, what makes the most sense with this
at that given
with
time.
this message?
Right.
Like, does it make sense that this is an attack?
Are they busting your balls or not?
Right. Like, and I think sometimes we fail to do that because of whatever else is happening to us throughout the day.
I think when you have also just, again, that positive connotation to a person's text or like a person's last interaction, like you hold on to that stuff and got me thinking, man. Got me thinking. I got to fix some things within myself. I know I do. I think we all do. But but like,
there's always that.
Not taking things to heart per se via text is definitely a big thing.
Yeah, I have to, for me, I know that what I have to do is I have to not always think that something's funny. Right? Like sometimes if someone is questioning me or upset with me about something, I'll respond in a very sarcastic way,
Mhm.
or I'll respond in like, to me, I'm responding in a sarcastic way, but sarcasm doesn't come across in reading. You don't read sarcasm. At least I'm not good enough to do it in a text.
Well, I do with you.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on who you're texting.
Yeah.
Because
I think it
you,
does.
DJ, and I can do that.
Right.
I could do that with certain people and read it that way.
Well, I think it's.
I think
you and DJ have never gotten like in a fight.
I do think that if
you fought with somebody, that goes away. The minute you've had like a real like yelling argument with somebody over something,
okay,
it's almost like that. Well, you don't get that anymore.
Okay,
like that's gone now.
Okay.
Like Annie and I have never had a real argument over anything, right? So we can say things to each other that normal couples would never say to each other.
Sure.
And we just think it's hilarious because we've never been in a situation where anything was ever said in that context.
Right.
Right. So there's you can't base it off of anything. You know, there's no point where you're like, oh, we've been here, so this is what this could feel like. It's like, oh, that's never been a serious thing, so why would it be now? Right. And I think once you've had one of those arguments, it's like, you know, we talked a little bit before about the things that we could talk about on the show. And one of the things was like talking with family and working with family, or even like when we had a long time ago, we had our buddy Mike Early on here to talk about political differences and things like that. If you have somebody where you've had that like knockdown, drag out argument about something,
you've had tense.
It's tough to like be jovial about it now.
Right.
You know, because it's like, wait, are you being jokey, or are you saying that I support this horrible thing?
Right.
Like you said before.
Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of that stuff too. And people hold on to stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So why do you think what do you think breaks down a communication the worst in your life?
Talk to text.
Okay.
No.
Talk to text is pretty horrible. But I mean, no. I mean more like not what type of communication is the worst.
No.
But what is it? Like how can I phrase this in a better way? What's the state of mind or the action that is taken, or where do you think communication breaks down the most? Like with family, it could be just leftover childhood trauma. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So like the minute it's your mom telling you did something wrong, or that she thinks you could do something better or different, you're now 10 and she's yelling at you about what you did wrong, and you just think she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And that's how you're arguing it, or how you're feeling.
Yeah.
I know that has happened to me.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
What do you think it is with you in like situations? Because you have a few, like you work with your family, which has got to have a million challenges.
Oh, yeah.
As far as that goes. Bands are notoriously bad at communication. I can talk about that as well.
Sure.
You know, and then we have relationships. We have friendships that might have gone sour at one point and are being repaired, and like all those things. Where in your life do you think the biggest difficulties are?
I do think the biggest difficulty is differentiating. Well, one of them is differentiating then and now.
Yep.
I think, I mean, this is a whole show and therapy session about, but I do think that that is certainly one thing. I also think another thing that everybody has a problem with is expectation.
Okay. Yes.
And I think people go into conversations or, whatever with a certain expectation of someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that hurts a lot of things when that dynamic changes at all.
Okay.
I think if there are changes in a relationship, to expect those things to be in place still is very like no. Like no, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
So yeah, I think expectations of the other person, but also I think that anybody has to make their expectations known. They have to effectively communicate their expectations or their what they are going to do or how they are going to be involved in X, Y, Z. Like I think setting boundaries and expectations for the person on the other side is huge, because unless there's an actual conversation of like, and this literally happened recently, like there was something that has kind of been done over and over because we've discussed it in full, and that's that. And then last night, something was not happening the way that it had, but it was also not discussed yet, right? So
Can
I
you
do feel like,
can you give a fake example? Because I was going to say that's
yeah.
super vague.
Yeah, that's super vague. So basically, you're traveling,
Mhm.
right? And you come in and you say, we're gonna do a day out. And we go, okay, cool. We're gonna go out, right?
Okay.
And 2 times before, it was like, cool, 9 a.m., let's do it. Let's hit the road, go. And you're out all day and come back home.
Mhm.
And then we say, okay, we're gonna go out again. And then go to dinner the night before. And you go, okay, so 9 o'clock. And we hadn't spoken about what the plan was.
Right.
But you just assumed that it was 9 o'clock pickup time.
Because it had been.
And it's like, no, there's other things going on. It's more like later. Oh, well, what the fuck?
Right.
It's like, no. We hadn't discussed what the plan was.
Right.
So if there's no
mistake there-
plan,
the mistake there is the attitude,
right?
right? Like finish what you were saying. Sorry, because you were about to say
So
the
yeah,
point.
that's
If there is no plan,
right. If there is no plan, then there is no
then there's no plan.
right. There's no
Right.
plan.
Yeah.
You get, we should do this. We should do this. We
Mhm.
should do this. We should do this. This is another example from my life. We should do this. We should do this. We should do this. And then upset when it doesn't happen. And it's like, well, did you set it up?
Right. We just said we should do something.
No? Okay. And then someone else involved is like, I thought you were kidding. Well, yeah, because there's no plan.
Right.
There's no plan. There should be no expectation.
Right.
If there is an expectation, it's because there are plans made.
Now, I understand the conclusion that if you are, say you're making plans and you've had one person that was the person that was handling all the details,
Mhm.
right? and that person has always been that person that handles all the details. I can definitely understand why people would think that would still be the case.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess there's probably non-effective communication a little bit on both sides if it wasn't said like, hey, I know I've taken care of all this stuff before, but I'm not going to this time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you didn't do that.
Right.
But I'm saying that's one thing that if people are listening and they're thinking about like, oh, I've been in that situation. Oh, I've been the one. Or there's people listening going like, yeah, but like if I've done that, but the person that has done things every time and the person that takes care of scheduling this outing every time and doing everything every time, they can't just suddenly decide not to, because it's one thing to get sick of being the person that's relied on all the time.
But you need to
communicate that instead of just being like, I'm just not going to do it next time and we'll see how everybody reacts.
Yeah.
Right. And that happens a lot.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. But yeah.
And I think that's a good thing with expectations. If you have expectations of somebody, it is on you to tell the person that those are your expectations of them.
Right.
No matter what, no matter if they always did it before, don't assume anything.
Yeah.
Right. But also, if you're the person that has always been the person that kind of took care of things and you're not going to, if you're frustrated with that job, you need to communicate and go like,
I'm not doing this.
Hey, I'm frustrated with this job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep doing this job. And then that opens the lines of communication.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot. I think people feel like, and maybe this is partially because of what texting has become and partially because of what social media has become. So most of what we see is people venting without really wanting to engage about it other than for you to appreciate and like that they're venting. Right.
That's another thing. Yeah.
But then in a personal situation, if I say something to you and your opinion is like, oh, he's just venting and then he's going to continue to do the job. Right. It's like, no, you don't always get to do that. But then it's kind of also on me because we're in a world right now where nothing is ever expected to have a response because most of the things that we're doing don't require one.
Yeah.
That's
a great point. That's a fantastic point. Yeah, I mean, like you didn't say, but like to me, band dynamics
sure
is a great thing. And we both have dealt with this type of thing. But I do think, again, expectations, right? If you get along with someone and they can do the job within the band that you're expecting them to do, that is a win. That's a major win. That's a major win. When you don't get shit back from them or whatever. I have had people join a band and just flat out go, yeah, I'll come to rehearsal. I'll come to shows. That's what I can do.
Right.
And you know what? You didn't say, I'm ready to take over the world. You didn't say, I'm ready to, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. You said, I can do these things. And then you go, cool. Thanks for your honesty. Thank you for your, these are my expectations are set now.
Yep.
If you don't do more than that, I can't be upset.
Right. Don't ever do less than that.
Right.
Because you've set my expectation.
Exactly.
Right. I think that is a big thing.
Yeah.
And I also think that that when someone isn't meeting their expectations, it's on the other person to let them know. I think you have to let them know. I think fear of confrontation, fear of an argument, anxiety over those things.
I honestly think it's less of those things. For me personally,
yeah,
I I don't worry about engaging in spirited conversation or debate.
Yeah, I actually love it.
We've had it.
Yeah.
We've had it before.
Absolutely.
Plenty of times.
Yeah.
You know, like that doesn't bother me.
Yep.
I think what bothers people is if their standpoint on that particular issue is going to hurt the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people worry about that.
I think people worry more about not about having the argument. I think they worry about if they're going to hurt the feelings of the person involved, or if it's going to ruin their friendship or relationship or whatever it is forever. And
that's interesting. I haven't thought about that.
And that's, I mean, to me, that's like, listen, I don't love to fight,
right?
But if I have to, I will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not your first course of action, but if you get to that point, you will have to fight.
Yeah,
it's something that I've learned as someone who works in the advocacy field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to fight sometimes. I think you have to be judicious on how you handle it and how you figure it out and how you approach it. But fighting doesn't necessarily have to be negative either.
No, because I think if
because fighting can be strategic.
Yeah, I think if the end goal is positive, then all fighting or arguing or whatever is going towards finding a positive
outcome.
Yeah. So then, to me, even when it's spirited or when it's it gets heated, that's more of a passion thing.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
You maybe you're defending your idea,
mm-hmm.
you know, or you're defending your position, you know, on something, or you feel really strongly about something. So you're defending sometimes you're defending just your like, you're just like, hey, you have a lot of great points. I can see your side. I understand it. You haven't shaken in my belief in that this is the way to do this. So as much as I can't tell you you're wrong, I believe strongly in this and I'm going to fight for it.
Yeah.
You know, and those are sometimes the harder ones to get past, because it's like nobody's wrong here.
But I think when it comes back to what we were talking about, it's less of the having confrontation and more of you're going to call somebody out for not handling their shit.
Right. Yeah.
And
you have to.
9 times out of 10, I'll say maybe 8 times out of 10 in my life. I say 8 times out of 10 because I work with a lot of really good people, like really like self-reflective people. I've got Jen in my life. I got you in my life. I've got a lot of good people that are in my core that are self-reflective and are not gonna go, all right, well, he said that for a reason. Before I respond, let me think. Let me take that in. Think about how I've been working or doing or this or that, whatever, and before I come back at them.
Yeah.
Because the other portion of those people are gonna fight, and they're gonna go, no, I am.
Right.
You know, and that's gonna hurt the relationship, because they're gonna be like, oh, well, this person's just busting my balls. Oh, this one's just, you know, they just gotta have something to complain about. They gotta do this, they gotta do that.
Right.
And it's like, no, it's not like
nothing's
that.
good enough.
Literally, oh, you know, nothing's good enough.
Nothing's ever good enough.
Yeah, and it's not that, but they're just overly defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, and maybe they had a where someone else tore them down about a thing and they're feeling it.
Yeah,
And
that
then
can happen too.
They're having a conversation with you,
but for the
but
most
they're
part,
bringing all that into it.
but for the most part, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
Sure.
People are going, no, I didn't. No, that's not me.
Well, so you know what I think is crazy, and I just thought about it when you were saying this, is you were saying that, like, okay, like, I'll take the time to think and go, like, why did he say this? Here's what's, let me try and figure that out. Going back to like forms of communication that we were talking about before, texting, like text-based communication, texting and online,
Emails, yeah.
right? Emails, texting, and online. Less so with emails, because emails I find people generally think about a lot and obsess over a lot, and like write and rewrite and write and rewrite, because it's exposition. It's usually long.
I do think that's important too. Like, don't just react on email.
Yeah, I think text.
If you implement that on text.
Yeah, text and social media are places where you really have every opportunity to stop, consider what your statement is going to cause,
Sure.
or you can consider 1,000 different perspectives of it before you ever post it or send it, right? And I think people don't. I think people are in this habit of just stream of conscious send, stream of conscious post, maybe less posting, because I think like that's more of a stream of conscious, and then let me spend time wording this in the most effectively cutting way that I can do, versus what's this going to actually do? Is this going to,
how is this going to
achieve anything? What's my goal?
Forward? Yeah.
What's my goal here? And I think it's more of just like, that's why like rage tweeting is a thing, and that's why all those things kind of happen. And I find it weird. I guess when we're talking less on a person-to-person basis and more of like probably the social media thing, and just random posting of things, that people seem to not think about how they're presenting themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if you're going to an event, you think about how you dress. If you're going to a concert, to a game, to anything, you think about how you dress. You think about, what kind of attitude you want to have when you walk in the place. You get excited. You know, all those things are a consideration, right? When you're going to school, you think about every day what you look like, right? You don't want to walk in that room looking like anything other than this thing that you want to present yourself as, and you want to present yourself as approachable, attractive. You don't want people to hate you immediately,
right?
And you also don't want to come in and be, usually you don't want to come in and be over or underdressed. You're not going to go to a 5-star restaurant in cutoff shorts and a tank top.
Right.
You're not going to do that, because you're going to be like, okay, where am I going? Let me fit the room I'm in, right? But for some reason on social media, no one seems
there is none of that
to care how they're presenting themselves. They're instead presenting this, they're thinking more about what the thing they're about to do is going to garner out of somebody else. Like, how's somebody going to look at my words and laugh? Or how's somebody going to look at my words and agree with me? Or how am I going to stick it to this group of people?
Sure.
And like all these things, the only thing you're not thinking about is like, am I coming across like a total asshole? Do I have any identity other than this thing that I'm posting? And that goes back to like when you become passionate about something, like don't make it your only identity.
Right.
Like don't make it your life.
Sure. Sure. I learned that lesson. I learned that lesson a long time ago. Long time ago. I used to, when I was using social media, like it was more of a stream conscious thing.
Yeah.
But I think everybody was kind of using it. They weren't using it as a political platform.
No,
It was kind of like
that's silly.
yeah, and it, but
Let's
it was
be
more
real.
of a
Guys, come on.
like what's on my mind today, what's on your mind today, and like I'd put like super excited for a 3-day weekend, or man, I can't believe it's Monday, or like those kind of things. And then it evolved to like I think if I had a superpower, it would be picking the wrong line at the grocery store.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, people are laughing. That's pretty,
yeah. I like that
cool.
one, by the way. That was a good one.
Well, it's true.
Well, yeah.
But then, for us as musicians, as people in entertainment, doing the podcast, that kind of stuff, we kind of have to have it. But if you notice, 90+% of what we do is just trying to push forward what we've done.
Yeah.
In that space.
Well, it's like, hey, if you want to know me through a song, know me through a podcast, know me through this episode that I think you'll enjoy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Know me through that. If you think my posts are funny, cool, awesome. Go see what else I do.
Yeah.
But
there was at one point there was actually here in Long Island, New York, and it's happening elsewhere, is like the cover band thing just became this situation for us where we couldn't get I
got in all kinds of trouble for that.
Gigs. We couldn't do whatever. So we took this like hard stance, and we've all backed off on it. And I do think, honestly, we never approached it from if you play a cover band, you're garbage.
Right.
It was never that. What it was basically like, hey, you better be really, really good at your job, because if you're not, and this is how you're taking jobs away from us, then we're really pissed.
See, I didn't have that. What I had, for me, I can only speak, but for me, it was, I got into this thing where I kept seeing people in the cover band scene, and this is the weirdest thing to like get mad at, right? But I did, and I let it absorb. There was a bunch of it all happened in like 1 month too, where there was a bunch of these like cover band shows and tribute band shows and stuff. And then I just kept seeing these posts that were like thanking the fans for their support and how they couldn't do what they do without the fans.
Right.
And all this stuff. And then seeing like all the like fans of those bands being like, you guys are this, you guys are that to me, you guys are this to me, and all this kind of stuff. And my brain, purely out of like jealousy, or maybe defense, where I was just like, hey, like there's people over here that are actually creating something new, that are trying really hard to reach anyone. And we have to fight people, that we have to fight for gigs and pay for gigs and lose money and guarantee to bring people and buy tickets and this and that and the other. Whereas these other bands are just going to shows and getting paid, playing music that's already hits. Like, of course their shows are awesome. Every song is a hit. Right. Every song is already your favorite song.
Yeah.
And so I built up this big like rage against that. And it was like, I was never mad at anybody that played in cover bands.
Yeah, well,
you know, but I came across that way. I definitely came across that way.
I think
I probably
would
even
too.
said it. I'm sure I said. I'm sure I was like, they don't like. I could do what you do tomorrow, and you couldn't do what I do at all, and that's not fair.
It's not fair.
That's not fair.
It's mostly true, but
it might be true in some cases,
but
also like it's also not true in a lot of cases too.
Right.
And you know,
shit, man, I
there's a bunch of crappy cover bands and there's a bunch of crappy original bands out there.
Well, yeah,
and there's a bunch of great.
Yeah.
Also, and also when it comes down to it, hell am I? Right. I'm just a dude that can have an opinion.
Yeah.
But putting that opinion online suddenly gives me authority.
Well, so what I did, what I fell into, and I was brazen enough at the time to tag the bands, tag those people.
Yeah.
What had happened was there was a pretty big national headlining gig at a really nice venue in Long Island, and there were like 3 nationals on it, and instead of getting any local bands, local originals to play it, they got 2 or 3 cover bands.
Right.
And I know from experience, because I've seen them, 1 or 2 of them were awful. 1 of them was really good. But the fact that they took those opportunities away from people, like they could have just as easily played 2 blocks away,
right,
made the same amount of money,
right,
and then you could have done the ticket situation with local bands who want to be on this platform, and you didn't do that, right? So I put a pretty scorched earth, not a scorched earth, like I didn't say F cover bands or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
I did.
I
did.
I put a post up and I was like, this is kind of bullshit because there are bands who need these opportunities. These bands don't need these opportunities. They're already getting paid by these venues that won't have original bands play.
Right. It doesn't do anything for them to be on this show.
It doesn't do anything for them. It would do you guys a service at that point to be put somewhere in the middle of these 3 big national acts.
Right.
And that pissed me off. That pissed me off to no end. And it sucked because the good cover band actually was kind of like offended, and they were like, yo, dude. And I was like,
I've had a number of friends.
I was like, hey man, like honestly, I'm not saying you guys suck. I'm not saying any of the bands suck. What I am saying is that you don't need this opportunity because you're not going to do anything with it besides book another gig at another bar next weekend.
Right. Yeah.
And get paid.
My big argument was like, I wasn't saying people sucked either. I was saying it's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same. Don't act like, because I was hearing a lot of this, we're all in this together in the Long Island music scene. And at the time, that really bothered me because I was like, we're not all in this together.
No,
we're not, because I'm not getting the shows you're getting. And I'm not getting the opportunities you're getting. And I'm not able to book the same things that you're able to book. Those things aren't there for me.
Yeah.
So we're not coming from the same place. We're not fighting the same fight. We're not even in the same book. We're not doing anything the same here. Like between my shows, I'm writing new material and trying to record a new record and trying to put out new music, and I'm paying for all the things that are involved with that versus learning new hits that came out.
Right.
And or not.
And
or
honestly,
not because
if it doesn't happen,
or not because
guess what happens?
If I'm tributing a band that's no longer around, I've learned my set. So between shows, I can just spend the money I made on those shows, keep my chops up, and go to the next one. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a smarter way to do it, right? If you want to make music your life, that's the smarter move. But I wasn't able to effectively communicate what my point was.
Yeah.
Or what it just came across like I was just an angry, bitter, jealous, and probably because partially that was true.
And same for me.
You know?
Same for me. And since then, I learned my lesson. Like I was like, you know what? Like I didn't say anything harsh or terrible or anything to anybody.
Yeah, I did.
Well,
but I had a lot of harsh things said to me too. I was
right.
You know, like,
you weren't.
You've cannibalized your whole fan base, and I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
I made a lot of people say a lot of dumb shit on that post.
Yeah.
And after that, I stopped. I just stopped. I like.
I went in and I went in and did a retraction. I went into my own post and point by point re-explained.
I do remember that.
Or completely said I was wrong here and this was messed up. Because honestly, communication for me, and this is something that I need to be better at articulating to other people, is that I don't always have my full point at the beginning of our talk. I figure it out
like your songwriting
by the end.
This is just like your songwriting.
Yeah. Because throughout arguing or discussion, my opinion changes.
Sure.
And I refine my thoughts.
Well, it's because you're not closed off to other people's ideas and thinking or learning something new.
And it's because I don't assume that I'm right all the time.
Yeah.
I assume that I will be right by the end.
There you go.
Which has proven to be true pretty much all the time. But I'm right by the end because as we're talking, I refine my views.
Sure.
I take the scientific approach. I'm like, this is what I believe until better information comes along. And I'm having a conversation with you to get better information.
Right.
If you can't give me better information,
then I can't be better.
Well, then I'm just right.
Or then you're right.
Right? Then I'm just right. And it's your job to take the information and adjust your viewpoint because you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in general, people have a hard time doing that.
Communication.
I used to have a pretty hard time doing that. But I got better at it, you know? I don't know. I think that happens a lot. The other thing I think happens a lot that I've encountered a bunch that I think that people need to realize and stop doing, or at least try and be a little bit better about, is I think people get so wrapped up in how they are feeling
mm-hmm.
and how they are taking things and the outcome they want, that every conversation with someone that is an argument is about alleviating their concerns.
They've got their own objective.
Right? Then you're not in a conversation. You're not in a conversation with somebody if your only goal is to bring them to your side of that conversation. You're in a conversation with somebody if you enter it wanting to hear where they're at, wanting to hear what they think so that you can adjust what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And hoping that they'll give you the same so that by the end of the conversation, you can meet somewhere in the middle, or maybe a little bit more towards your side, or maybe a little bit more towards their side if there's some kind of contention. But I think people are, for whatever reason, and maybe it's a social media thing, maybe it's a text thing, maybe it's the lack of actually speaking to somebody and being interrupted and interrupting and having a back and forth and having to gauge, look in someone's face when you say something and see how it affects them. I think that people go into things with like literally just so self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And they're not even there to hear you.
No.
And that's the thing that I've been struggling with, that I've found a lot, is that I find that every conversation that I enter, I'm really trying to do more listening than talking, so that when I talk, it matters more,
Yeah.
because it takes into account what I've just heard.
That's how everybody goes to me, like, if you know me on a personal basis or whatever, like, people are like, you're not very talkative. Like, if I'm in group situations, you're not very talkative. You're not this, you're not that. And it's like, it's because I'm sitting back and I'm listening.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what people have to say. Jen and I talked about it this morning. We were walking the dogs, and that's how you learn shit.
Yeah.
You listen, and you don't be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Don't come in and think of yourself as the smartest person in the room. Like, I'd rather be the dumbest person in the room.
I like to be the
Personally.
dumbest at the beginning of the night and the smartest by the end.
Right.
Right.
And you know what? If I do have something to impart, podcast movement again coming up.
Yeah.
Like, we had some great information to give to them.
Yeah.
In one of the breakout sessions and stuff, and we were able to help people and do that. And
it was only after days of taking in information and figuring out the things that we were doing that were right and were correct and did have value to them, versus the things where we were making mistakes and needed to make changes and learn different things, so that when in the room on the last day, based on what we've learned and what we listened to and everywhere we could go, hey, well, I hear what you're asking now, and I'm understanding it.
Yeah.
And I have an answer.
Right.
I don't have the answer. Maybe it is, but I definitely have one.
Yeah.
Right. That deals with what you're saying.
Luckily, ours was more technical.
Yeah.
And technical, and also performer stuff,
Right.
where people are like, I'm just so worried about being on camera and stuff. It's like,
I really like
just do it.
I really like Def Bird's comment right there. You learn so much more when you let other people have a voice.
Yep.
Yeah, that is everything.
I
But
listen.
Don't
just listen.
But don't fall into the habit of ignoring your voice to let everyone else have one.
Yes.
Because
that's important.
I have found over and over and over again, unfortunately, that if I don't at some point fight for my voice, it will not be considered.
Right.
In a lot of cases. In some cases, it will, 100%. But in cases where it's not, you have to know when to be like, hey, okay, I've heard you. I know that you feel like your vision or this situation we're in is really affecting you and revolving around you right now. But there are two people in the room, or there are however many people in the room, and every single person is affected by it. And every single person is affected by it in a different way. And you need to address every single person individually where they are to really figure out the solution to a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I freaking agree with you. Despite the fact that we have a podcast, we are the listeners. But yeah, I think, but again, it all comes back around to intent, right? Yeah. So the people with, this isn't just in a band situation, but I am going to say, just like, let's just say in a band situation, and you have a vision, you've done work that has allowed you to go, this doesn't work anymore. Do this. This
Right.
doesn't work. Do this. If you have a certain vision, tell people. Tell
Yeah.
people and say, this is the way it's going to work.
Yep.
And if it doesn't work, then we'll figure something else out. But like, this is the plan. This is the expectation.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that some people try and, I think more people than not feel as if my way is the right way, even though I don't have any experience in that situation. Or I've had a situation where I didn't learn from that, and I'm going to just do the same thing again.
Right. Right.
And
Or I feel really strongly about this right now in the moment, and I'm not going to take a second to think about it, and I'm not going to take a day to think about it. I'm going to make my reaction right now in the moment be everything.
Yep. And also, I mean, like, having that said helps me a lot. You know,
Right.
like, just because it's been a lot of what I've dealt with recently, where it's just like, my reaction to this makes me have to affect everybody this way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, like, if you do need help, taking a deep breath, looking at the cards in front of you, and dealing with them in a smart and efficient manner.
Right.
So you can be dealt a hand and go, all right, everybody, we're gonna today or tomorrow, like, let's everybody needs to fix this. Or we could go, all right, here's the hand we have. Okay, this particular card, I have to deal with it. I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hand it to somebody. And instead of handing it to somebody, telling them how they're going to do it and when they're going to do that, we're going to ask them, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah. Is this a thing you
And
can
then
help me with?
let them come back to me and say, yes, this is my plan to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's reactionary. Everything is now. And
Very little has to be.
man, this is gonna help my therapy session on Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that reactionary, that impulse
Mm-hmm.
to respond to something right away. And I think for people who are doers, I think for them, they want to get it, respond, and be done with it.
Yep. Speaking for myself, yes.
And
100%.
and like, that's not terrible,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also not feasible in every situation.
Yeah.
And that has, thank you. You have opened. I listened, and something has happened within me. Thank you.
That's great. Hopefully something has made sense to you guys listening as well. I know we kind of jump around, but we
Jump around. There's a little vagueness.
Yeah.
There's some.
You know, and that is purposeful in some cases because honestly, it wouldn't be smart for us to come on here and just completely out situations that we're having.
Blast people.
But we definitely want to use some of them in a conversation like this because it makes sense, and it's what what we go through and what I'm sure you guys go through. And if anything that we talked about or said helped anybody think of a different perspective or a way to communicate, then great. Like my big takeaways from this, for me, effective communication starts with listening, right? It ends with listening also, but it also, there's so much in between of like, remember that I'm not the only one in the room.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the only one that's going to be affected by this. Remember that the things you say, once you've said them, you might be done, but the things you say can last way longer.
And it affects the communication from that point forward.
Yep. Everything has an effect, and it's going to color how people hear you from then on. So every time you're going to say anything, every time you're going to post anything, every time you're going to put something out there, for whether it's a person that's close to you or whether it's just in general out into the universe, think about how you're dressed.
Yeah.
You know, remember, it's a reflection on you.
Yeah.
It's not just let's be funny, haha, or let's be cutting, or let's win this fight, or let's be controversial, or let's get the last word.
Sure.
It's you. It's you're presenting you to not just the person you're talking about sometimes.
And also managing expectations, but manage them together.
Yeah.
Manage them together, you know.
Don't test people.
Right.
Don't play games. Don't test people.
Yeah. I feel like there's a situation in my life that I need to, like, and I've been doing a better job with it, but yeah, it's I've had to create the expectations.
Yeah.
And some people view it as being hard ass a little bit.
Right.
Being, I don't know, angry, whatever. But it's one of those things where I just followed expectations that I never really, like, no, this is you. Okay, just because you expect that does not mean that that's how it works here.
Right.
And manage expectations together. Make your intentions known. Make your abilities to input into whatever it is that you're putting into known. And everything will be better. Just communicate.
Yeah. And don't look for perfect and don't look for great. Always look for better. Better than last time.
Yep.
No matter what last time was. If last time was great, it could still be better. So just always better than last time.
Yeah.
Let people know what you're thinking. Let the people that are involved know what you're thinking. You don't got to let everybody know what you're thinking. Keep things close to the vest, sure. Don't play games. Don't test people. Don't try and win before the person even knows that you're in an argument.
Yeah.
You know, like, be real with people, but just be real. Just be real as much as possible.
Oh, wow, this is like serious.
Yeah. Right. So this wasn't the haha episode, but
it's okay.
But hey, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Aside from all that stuff, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of our little community. We are going to leave now and continue with our patrons over on our Patreon. They are with us live every week doing this. So if you want to be a part of that, please join us over at patreon.com/Bacon
is my podcast.
And join us there. All right. And until next time, like, subscribe, all that kind of thing. Yeah, you know the stuff. But remember, most importantly, ask yourself every single day, what's the thing for you?
What's your bacon?